A flotilla of boats sailing towards Gaza, aiming to break Israel's blockade of the war-ravaged Strip, has been intercepted by the Israeli military off the coast of Greece. At least 6 Australians are on the boats, which have been seized. Middle East correspondent Matt Doran joins us now from Jerusalem. Matt, g'day. So what's happened?
Joe, good evening to you. This is the Global Sumud Flotilla, which had been sailing towards Gaza to try to break that maritime blockade, to highlight the plight of Palestinians, saying that Israel was restricting supplies going into the Strip, and this is an international effort to show that aid should be allowed in. They had been sailing from parts of Europe towards Israel and towards Gaza more specifically, when in the overnight local time they were approached by the Israeli military. There were radio warnings issued to the flotilla. This is information coming from the flotilla's organisers themselves. I believe we might even have some vision of that moment when those radio warnings were issued, telling them to stop, telling them to take whatever aid they were carrying to Ashdod port in Israel and to stop this mission. When they didn't stop, the Israeli military then decided to board some of the ships. Now, we say that there are at least 6 Australians on board, or at least 6 Australians in this group who have been detained by Israeli authorities, and that's because there are more Australians who are part of this Global Sumud Flotilla, and we understand that not all of the ships have been intercepted at this point, so that's why we're using that sort of language there. But there are more Australians involved in this mission at this point. We have heard from the Sumud Flotilla themselves. They are saying that this is an act of piracy. They are highly critical of Israel for intercepting their ships so far from the coast of Israel, and for that matter the coast of Gaza. This is international waters off of Greece, near the island of Crete, we understand. They're saying that this is an act of piracy and that Australia and many other governments should condemn these moves. We have heard from the IDF, the Israel Defence Forces, this morning local time. They've said that the IDF upholds the maritime security blockade of Gaza in accordance with the directions it receives from the political echelon in Israel. That's a pretty bland statement to describe what is going on here, but they are referring all inquiries to Israel's foreign ministry, and the foreign ministry for its part has been posting some statements and videos on its social media accounts this morning local time, saying that 175 people have been detained, transferred to Israeli ships, and they are now being taken to Israel where they will be processed from there. Israel also continuing its very familiar rhetoric about the Global Sumud Flotilla, saying that this is not really about aid, that this is a stunt designed to capture attention. They've released some video, and we do have to stress this is unverified video, but they say that they have found things such as drugs and condoms on board. Again, unverified statements there from the Israeli Foreign Ministry, but they are going very hard to try to discredit the aims of this organisation. And the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations overnight has said that the IDF bravely intercepted and dealt with a group of what he is describing as delusional agitators.
And how have Israeli authorities handled previous incidents like this?
So this is not the first time that this has happened. You're right there. There have been a number of other flotillas which have tried to achieve the same outcome here and have also been intercepted by Israeli authorities. If we cast our minds back to the most recent group, which included the activist Greta Thunberg, they were brought to Ashdod port, which is one of the largest port facilities in Israel. It's actually not that far from the Gaza border, where they were taken off those ships. They were then reportedly forced to watch a video by Israeli authorities of Hamas's attacks on Israel back on October 7, 2023, which was the precursor to this current war in Gaza. And then they were taken to an Israeli jail, Ketziot prison, which is down in the south of the country, close to the Egypt border, where they were held there ahead of their deportation. We understand that will probably happen again, although certainly there have been some very vocal right-wing members of the Israeli parliament and the Netanyahu government who have said that this time around it should be an even harsher penalty, harsher treatment dished out to these activists, many of whom have been in this position before. We've heard from the Global Sumud Flotilla. They are demanding, at least for the for all of those who've been detained, but specifically for the Australian who have been detained as a result of this, they are urging the Australian government to not only condemn this move by Israel, but to also offer full diplomatic support to those Australian citizens when they are brought to Israel. We haven't heard yet from the federal government on this, but we'll continue monitoring that over the next couple of hours. We're not necessarily expecting this group to get to Israel very quickly. In the past, they have been brought in under the cover of darkness once the sun has set, so that is 12 hours or so, less than 12 hours or so away, but they are also a significant distance from Ashdod port, far further than previous missions as well, which have been intercepted in places such as off the coast of Egypt there. Joe?
Okay, Matthew Doran there in Jerusalem.